Your teen can talk to hundreds of people in one day and still go to bed feeling completely alone. They can be surrounded by messages, streaks, likes, snaps, group chats, and notifications and still feel like nobody truly sees them. And that may be one of the darkest truths of modern parenting. The most connected generation in history is quietly becoming one of the loneliest. From the outside, it does not always look like loneliness. That is what makes this so hard to spot. Loneliness used to look obvious. A child sitting alone at lunch, a teen with no friends calling the house, a quiet weekend, an empty bedroom, no invitations. Now loneliness can wear a full social calendar. It can look like constant texting, constant scrolling, constant posting. Your teen may seem socially plugged in all day long and still feel emotionally stranded, because online connection and real connection are not the same thing, and deep down, teenagers know that. They feel the difference even when they cannot explain it. They know the difference between being noticed and being known, between being included and being safe, between being watched and being understood, between getting a reaction and feeling loved. And the internet is full of reactions. Fast ones, shallow ones, unpredictable ones. Enough to keep a teen engaged for hours, not enough to make them feel held. That is the trap. The digital world gives teens a constant sense of contact without the deeper experience of closeness, so they are rarely fully alone, but they are also not truly together. They are suspended somewhere in between, always near people, rarely at rest with them. And that emotional in-between can become exhausting, because loneliness is not just the absence of people, it is the absence of felt connection. It is being around others without feeling reachable. It is speaking without feeling understood. It is performing without feeling accepted. And online life trains teens to perform, not slowly, not occasionally, constantly. Every photo says something, every caption says something, every read receipt says something, every silence says something. Every like count says something, every exclusion says something. Even when nobody speaks, the platform is speaking, ranking, comparing, measuring, signaling status, hinting at belonging, hinting at rejection. Adults underestimate how intense that is. Because many parents still think of social media as a tool. For teens, it often feels more like an environment. They do not just go online, they live socially inside it. Their friendships happen there, their conflicts happen there, their misunderstandings happen there, their insecurities grow there, their identity gets tested there. And unlike real life, it rarely stops. A painful moment at school used to at least have edges. The bell rang, the bus came, the front door closed. Now the social day follows them home, into the evening, into the bedroom, into the bathroom, mirror, into their self-worth. A teen can leave school but never leave the feeling of being watched. And when a person feels watched all the time, they stop relaxing into who they are. They start editing. That is one reason teens feel more alone than ever online. Because the more they edit themselves, the less known they feel. Think about how intimacy works in real life. Real closeness usually grows in unedited moments. A weird laugh, a long pause, an awkward story. A look on someone's face that says, "I get it." Time spent doing nothing. A joke that lands. A silence that feels safe. Human connection is built through texture, but online life strips out a lot of that texture. You get curated images, short replies, half signals, ambiguous tone. A fast-moving stream of proof that everyone else seems more confident, more attractive, more included, more certain, more wanted. That stream changes the emotional math of adolescence, because being a teenager has always involved comparison. But comparison used to be limited by time and place. Now it is endless. A teen no longer compares themselves to the people in one classroom. They compare themselves to everyone, all the time, at their best, at their brightest, at their most filtered, at their most strategically presented. And even when teens know it is fake, their nervous systems still respond as if it is real. That is important, because insecurity does not need to believe the image is true. It only needs to feel behind it. So if teenager scrolls past smiling groups, better skin, better bodies, funnier posts, better holidays, better clothes, better confidence, better lives, and suddenly their ordinary human experience feels like failure, their room feels smaller, their face feels wrong, their friendships feel weaker, their life feels dull, their sadness feels isolating, not because their life changed in 10 minutes, because their internal world did. This is why online life can make teens feel lonely even when they are constantly exposed to other people. The exposure does not soothe them, it activates them. And activation is not connection, it is vigilance. Who saw my post? Why did they leave me on read? Why are they hanging out without me? Did I say something wrong? Why did their tone change? Why did my message get ignored in the group? Why did everyone like her picture and not mine? Why do I always feel worse after I check? These are not small thoughts. They accumulate, quietly, daily, sometimes hourly, and they create a background hum of social anxiety that many teens carry without language. So what does that anxiety look like from the outside? Often, not sadness, irritability, withdrawal, obsessing over the phone, mood swings, sudden sensitivity, snapping over small things, needing reassurance, then rejecting it, wanting to go out, then panicking about going out, looking desperate for contact, then seeming annoyed by everyone. A parent sees the behavior and thinks, what is happening? What is happening is that your teen may be starving for connection while being flooded with social information. And that combination is brutal because the human brain is not built to process this much social feedback without rest, especially not the adolescent brain. Teenagers are already at a stage where belonging feels urgent. Peer acceptance matters deeply, rejection hurts sharply, identity is still forming, self-worth is unstable, embarrassment feels enormous. Now place all of that inside a system designed to maximize attention, emotional reaction, and repeated checking. Of course they feel overloaded. Of course they feel fragile. Of course they feel alone in strange new ways. And here's the part many adults miss. Being online all the time does not reduce loneliness if the connection itself feels conditional. In fact, it can make loneliness worse. Because now the teen is not just alone. They are alone while surrounded by proof that other people seem less alone. That contrast cuts deep. It is one thing to feel left out in silence. It is another to watch your exclusion unfold in real time. A group photo you were not in, a joke you do not understand, a chat you were not added to, a story that confirms what you feared. People together, you apart. Sometimes no one even intended cruelty, but online life creates visibility without context, and visibility without context is a breeding ground for pain. A teen can spend hours trying to interpret things that were never fully clear to begin with. Why did she post that? Was that about me? Why did he stop replying? Why are they active but not answering? Why did everyone go quiet after I sent that? This kind of ambiguity is toxic for anxious minds. The brain hates uncertainty, so it fills the gap with fear. And fear isolates, because once a teen starts assuming rejection, they stop showing themselves honestly. They hold back, they overthink, they test people, they mask, they pretend not to care, and the more they protect themselves, the less genuine connection they actually experience. So loneliness grows. Not always because people are absent, because trust is thinning. That may be the real crisis beneath the screen. Teens are not only losing time, some are losing the experience of relational safety, the feeling that I can be real and still be wanted. That feeling is everything. And it becomes harder to access in a world where social life is public, fast, and quietly competitive. Even friendship itself starts to change under those conditions. Friendships online can become more visible but less grounded, more frequent but less deep, more reactive, less secure. You can talk every day and still never say anything true. You can send 10 messages and still feel unseen. You can maintain a streak with someone you no longer feel close to. You can be in 5 group chats and still have no one to call when your chest is tight and your thoughts turn dark. That is not connection. That is contact without comfort, and teenagers feel that gap more than adults realize. Some of them cannot name it. They just know they feel bad after being online, not always immediately. Sometimes online life gives them a quick hit of belonging, a laugh, a reply, a sign they matter. But later comes the drop, the emptiness, the comparison, the overthinking, the shame, the strange ache of having been socially busy all evening and still feeling emotionally untouched. That emotional whiplash teaches teens a dangerous lesson. Keep checking. Maybe the next message will fix the feeling. Maybe the next post will lift it. Maybe the next reply will prove I matter. Maybe the next like will calm me down. But the calm rarely lasts, because the real need was never just stimulation, it was closeness. And stimulation is a terrible substitute for closeness. This is also why some teens become more distant from family while feeling lonelier with peers. Parents often assume the phone is replacing connection because teens care more about friends. Sometimes that is true, but sometimes the phone is not a sign of fulfillment, it is a sign of searching, a restless attempt to feel less alone, a reaching for something that keeps almost working. That is why teens can seem glued to the very thing that is hurting them. It is not always because they are shallow, or addicted to drama, or obsessed with attention. Sometimes they are trying to regulate unbearable social uncertainty with the only tool always in reach, and that tool keeps promising relief, so they return to it again and again, even when it leaves them emptier. If you are a parent, this can be terrifying to watch, because your instinct is to pull the device away and say, "This is the problem." And sometimes strong limits are absolutely needed. But if you only fight the screen, you may miss the loneliness feeding the attachment to it. The device is not always the root. Sometimes it is the symptom. A teen who feels securely connected in real life is usually less vulnerable to online emptiness. But a teen who already feels unsure, excluded, unseen, or socially anxious may use the digital world like emotional life support. Not because it deeply nourishes them, because it temporarily distracts them from the ache, and modern parents are trying to navigate this while carrying their own exhaustion. That matters too, because many teens are not just online more, they are emotionally with parents less. Not always because parents do not care, because family life is stretched thin, work follows adults home, stress is constant, everyone is tired, everyone is distracted, everyone is keeping through screens, everyone is half there. So teens end up in a painful middle place, more digitally connected than ever, less relationally anchored than they need. That is not a criticism of parents. It is the environment many families are trapped inside. But it helps explain why this loneliness feels so widespread. A teen can spend the day moving between school pressure, digital pressure, friendship pressure, identity pressure, performance pressure, and the pressure to look okay through all of it. Then they come home to a house where everyone is mentally drained. There may be love there, real love, but not always enough emotional energy to make that love felt. And felt love is what protects against loneliness, not just love that exists. Love that lands, love that reaches, love that slows down long enough to say, "I see your face, I hear your tone, something is off, come sit with me." Many teenagers do not need more advice. They need more moments where they do not have to perform competence. They need spaces where they can be unfinished, unimpressive, confused, messy, quiet, and still feel welcome, because online life gives them almost no space to be unperformed. Everything is shaped for reaction. That is why even teens with lots of friends can feel profoundly alone. They are socially visible, but emotionally hidden. They are constantly expressing, but rarely exhaling. They are communicating all day, but not always being met. And eventually, that starts to do something to identity. A teen begins to wonder, if people only like the edited version of me, what happens if they see the real one? If I stop being funny, interesting, attractive, available, chill, quick, confident, what's left? Will anyone stay? That is the kind of question that creates loneliness from the inside out. Because now the problem is not only whether others accept me, it is whether I even believe the real me is acceptable. This is why online loneliness can become so intense. It is not just social, it is existential. A teenager is not only asking, "Where do I belong?" They are asking, "Who am I?" when nobody is reacting. That is a very hard question to answer in a world built to reward performance over presence. So what helps? Not panic. Not lectures about just getting off the phone. Not mocking what matters to them. Not acting like this is all superficial. Because for teens, it does not feel superficial. It feels like life. What helps is rebuilding places where connection feels slower, safer, more human. Regular time with no agenda, moments of eye contact without interrogation, conversations that do not begin with correction, shared routines, warmth without pressure, curiosity without intrusion. It also helps when parents understand something simple but powerful. A teen may resist you and still desperately need you. They may roll their eyes and still want refuge. They may shut the door and still hope someone notices the silence on the other side of it. Not every lonely teen will come out and say, "I feel alone." Some will say, "You don't get it." Some will say nothing. Some will get louder, some quieter, some meaner, some emptier. The signs are not always obvious, but the need underneath is often the same. Please make this world feel less harsh. Please help me feel real again. Please remind me I am more than what people think of me. Please be one place where I do not have to earn closeness. That is the opportunity parents still have. Not to erase the digital world, but to create a stronger emotional world around it. A world where your teen knows that being liked is not the same as being loved. That being followed is not the same as being known. That visibility is not intimacy. That attention is not attachment. That their worth does not rise and fall with the mood of a group chat. And that real connection still exists. In kitchens, in car rides, in late-night conversations, in shared laughter, in patient listening, in ordinary moments where nothing is posted and everything important is happening. Because the answer to online loneliness is not just less technology, it is more reality, more grounded relationships, more emotional safety, more room to be imperfect without social punishment. Teens do not need a perfect social life to be okay. But they do need at least a few places where they can stop performing and start belonging. And if we miss that, we will keep misunderstanding the problem. We will think the issue is that teens are too social online, when often the deeper truth is this: they are not feeling too much connection. They are surviving too much exposure with too little depth. That is why they feel more alone than ever online, not because they have no one. Because too much of their content lacks the one thing human beings have always needed most: the steady, calming, life-giving experience of being truly met. And if a teenager can still find that somewhere at home with one parent, one friend, one safe adult, one honest relationship, that loneliness does not get the final word. Because one real connection can cut through 1,000 shallow ones. One place of emotional safety can remind a teen who they are beneath the noise. One person who sees beyond the phone, beyond the mood, beyond the performance can become a lifeline, and maybe that is the truth modern families need to hear most. Your teen does not just need more monitoring. They need more moments of feeling known. Because the loneliest thing in the world is not being by yourself. It is being surrounded by people, signals, messages, and noise, and still feeling like nobody has truly reached you. And in this digital age, helping your teen feel reached may be one of the most important forms of love there is.